When you pray, do you know that God hears you? Oftentimes we forget that God is listening and ready to respond when we need His help. His help might look different than what we've asked for, or it may take longer than what we would like. But God is listening and ready to rescue us. At the beginning of the book of Exodus, we find God's people in slavery in Egypt, crying out for help. And guess what? God responded in a big way.
God had once promised Abraham and his sons that He would give them a land and make them into a great nation. But in Exodus 1, we read that Israel was in Egypt, and they were in slavery. In Exodus 2, it says the people of Israel groaned because of their slavery and cried out for help. And God heard their groaning and remembered His covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God had made a promise to Abraham and his sons that He would give them a land and make them into a great nation long before they became slaves in Egypt. Now the people were crying out for deliverance from their bondage. Meanwhile, God was already working. Moses had grown up and fled Egypt. Gone were the days of living in the palace. He was now a shepherd in the wilderness tending his father-in-law's sheep. One day, God appeared to him in a burning bush. "I've seen my people's affliction," God said. "I've heard their cry. I know their suffering." God sent Moses back to Egypt. He was ready to deliver His people out of Egypt and into the promised land. The slavery of God's people was hard. The Pharaoh was making it harder. After Moses returned and asked for Pharaoh to let the people go, Pharaoh took away the straw and forced the Hebrews to go search for straw to make the same number of bricks. We don't make bricks today like they did during this time period. But recently I had the chance to try my hand at making a brick in Luxor, Egypt. Take a look.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna take this mud.
Yeah, put some water first.
Put some water on it, just like they're telling me to do.
Yeah.
Pick it up, put it in the mold.
Yes. Put some water.
The water? All right, I'm gonna add a little bit more water. Just kind of clean it up a little bit here. I'm gonna try to lift it up here. I think so. There we go. That is not easy.
Making bricks was not easy, and it would have been messy, hot work. Now we get the sense of the hard labor God's people were forced into and why they were crying for help. In Exodus chapter 2, it says that when the people cried out to Him, God heard their groaning, and God remembered His covenant. God saw, and God knew. If you flip over to the New Testament, we read about the apostles encouraging the first generation of Christians to pray with confidence. In 1 John 5, John writes to the Christians saying, "And this is the confidence we have toward Him, that if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us." We can be sure that God wants to hear us. We also learn here that He wants us to trust His plan. Praying that God would do His will in our lives is a big comfort. His will is good for us.
We know how the story ends. God answers and delivers the people out of Egypt. It's not an easy journey for the people. It's not a quick answer. But in the end, God keeps His promises. Just like the Israelites, there are times in our lives when we're hurting, or maybe we're caught and enslaved to some sin, and we need to be rescued. God wants to hear our prayers. He's ready to comfort. He's ready to forgive, and He's ready to free us. Prayer is such a powerful tool, and one that we need to use daily in our lives. Prayer takes faith, and it takes humility to ask for help when we're having a hard time with something in our lives. Long ago, God heard His people and delivered them out of Egypt and into a land flowing with milk and honey. Today, let's remember that God hears us. He sees, He remembers, and He knows.